are aroused. I haven't seen people so aroused in a very, very long time.
Do not come. Do not come. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat, our Sunday night shit show. I didn't realize that it was ending quite so quickly.
It's shorter than the old one used to be. It catches us off guard a little bit.
I need a smoother transition.
God forbid I get caught sipping a beer.
You're drinking? That's crazy. Okay, I just have to say before anybody makes a comment, I love you all. I'm so happy to be here. But the Oscars, my whole life, have been sort of like my own religious experience. So I am not watching them now, and I'm thrilled to be here. But please don't write anything in the chat that would let me know who wins. I've got a pool going with my husband and friend and my family across the country. But welcome.
Please, it's like ruining a movie. So to Lila, this Hollywood rock star like she is, it's too much. Don't give it away.
Yeah, please. It's usually just like award season is usually incredibly depressing for me, but luckily the world has been so depressing for 4 years that the award shows have come to mean so much less to me, but I still do enjoy watching them. How are you?
They don't mean anything to me at all other than your joy. But I personally cannot stand the damn things, but I get it.
Yeah, it's gotten especially when there's not like great films so much that are like those big Oscar movies. I don't feel like we've had them in a long time. Like when Henry V was up against My Left Foot, I was like, oh my God, like the acting is so good and the writing. And there have been much smaller movies, but between that and the lack of, not just lack of speaking out, it's even worse than that. Actually, many of the people in Hollywood fully endorsing a genocide, it just
too many, and then getting blackballed more or less for being on the right position is it's McCarthyism, kind of a little bit.
It is. Oh, it really is. I mean, I had to look so hard to find No Other Land, which is so heartbreaking. I watched it yesterday, but somebody just I'm sure it's an illegal download and posted it, and because I can't watch it anywhere. It has not gotten distribution.
Yeah. It's apparently the first Oscar movie ever to not have distribution.
It's disgusting. It's really disgusting. Yeah, I think so.
And I know similar to that, what's it called? Oh, The Apprentice is sort of in a similar boat. It's not up for an Oscar, but some of the people involved in it are, but it's not being carried by any. The streamers won't touch it.
That to me is really strange. First of all, because I don't think that either of the actors and probably the makers of the movie are probably not pro-Trump. It's about Trump. Sebastian Stan is up for, I think he's up for Best Actor. And they always do these, roundtables in Variety and Interview Magazine, and they put two actors together to have a little conversation, and some of them can be really, fun and interesting as they talk about what their approaches are, or whatever. Nobody would do it with Sebastian Stan, apparently.
Is that from which movie?
Yeah, he plays Donald Trump in The Apprentice.
Oh, it's The Apprentice. Yeah. Exactly.
Like, what? I don't know. That's crazy to me. It's just crazy. But anyway.
Yeah, and I know a little bit about that movie. The behind the scenes stuff.
Movie.
No, it was put out there in an effort to really hit Trump before the election.
Yeah.
But the people involved didn't want it to play. So they kind of did some behind the scenes work, and I know some of the people involved in it, but anyway, it was designed from the jump to be something that would hit him and be timed to be really bad against Trump, and Hollywood helped kill it. So there you go.
Amazing. How are you?
I am good. I love our show more and more the less I'm drinking beer in my life, because this is my time I get to drink beer.
I applaud you, and I do not feel the same because I drink my wine every single night, no matter what, even when I have the stomach flu. It's important. It's part of my self-care.
There are vitamins or something in there. I don't know. Antioxidants will just make up some shit.
Red wine, it's so good for my heart.
My thing is I give myself one good legitimate beer.
Yeah.
And then I drink what's called session beers, which are lower alcohol, just kind of.
Right.
But I get one, and then I can have as many of the others as I want. That's
okay. The plan. I like that.
It's temporary.
All right. We all have to have little rules for ourselves.
Right.
To keep us going. So we want to thank all of our wonderful members, our pup heroes and sheroes. You guys are amazing. Thank you. We adore you, and we are so grateful. So thank you. Thank you for your retweets, your comments, all of the stuff. It's just really, really helpful, and we appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Here.
Cheers. My second sip of wine. And
I'm just gonna drink when you talk. That's my new thing.
Okay, good.
Anytime you're saying something, I'm just gonna.
I have a feeling you're gonna be drinking a lot because I never seem to stop talking.
Let's do it. Your show.
Our cheers tonight is to the great Francesca Albanese, who's done so much this year and for quite some time, but been really outspoken and doesn't let anyone get away with anything as they are talking about these atrocities that are happening. She's just so on point. So here is a little clip of her talking about our disgusting corporate media.
I look for the day when there will be an investigation on the role of Western corporate media in this genocide. Because this is not, Natasha, this is not a genocide that has been just overlooked. This is a genocide that has been justified and enabled. Because
also
the
by media?
Absolutely.
In what way?
Because they have maintained a line sticking to the Israeli military narrative, using that terminology, amplifying sometimes the fabrications, like there is a Hamas headquarters under Al-Shifa hospital, justifying the destruction of the entire hospital. They have repeated incessantly the mantra of the human shields, of the terrorists. All the Palestinians have been portrayed somewhat as terrorists or terrorist accomplices. It's the subliminal effect of normalizing a situation which is pathetically unlawful by inserting into the language words that create that sort of mental dogma that the Palestinians, for some reason, have brought this havoc upon themselves, for some reason.
She's so great.
Yeah.
And also, I have to say, I love her Italian accent. And when she says that they brought it on themselves.
I have such a crush on her. I mean,
she's just so fierce.
Come on, pup,
smart.
Francesca.
Oh, yes. Get that punch up bump. Saul, thank you. You do have my back. Red wine has French women living to 120. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Jenna. I did put on little sparkly earrings as my celebration for my day. Cheers to Signora Albanese. Brava, brava. She is amazing. I just adore her. So Absolutely. Cheers to anybody who speaks out. Yes. Okay. What do you think?
Yeah, she's brilliant. I think we should spin the wheel, have some joy, and then we'll get into it.
I think that's a great idea. Here we go. Oh, I got you. Okay.
Yeah, baby.
Okay. I am refilling already because it's a party.
Helping my cause.
And then, sorry if I do this, I'm closing. Wait, I can't pour yet.
Yeah, baby.
All right, Pat. Timeline time.
I love these old 70s and 80s ads. So this was this is Moms on the Net.
Are you on the internet?
Isn't that for techno geeks with spreadsheets?
Oh, Mel, you need the power. We're Moms on the Net. Learn with us as we ride the wave of information called the internet. There I was, an ordinary mom. Then I slid into my computer chair, and with a few clicks of my mouse, I became a mom on the net with the world at my fingertips.
What do you have to say now?
Where's my mouse? That's the spirit, Melanie. We surf the net.
Oh my gosh, that's very funny.
I'm going to forever refer to you as Mom on the Net.
Mom,
because you're such a rock star pushing you know what a mouse is? It's crazy.
Yeah, I know how to press the button, click on. Thank you, Zainab, saying my earrings are beautiful. I appreciate it. And also Jen Pullman saying it might be the wine or it might be the universal healthcare that keeps people living a long time in France.
Right.
I say, why not both? Why not both? All right. So we're going from somebody who is truly a force and speaks out for the least amongst us. And now we're just going to dive into one of the most cringe-worthy meetings of this year, certainly, but maybe even going back some while. We had a meeting with Zelenskyy, Trump, and JD Vance where Marco Rubio had thought that it was going to end in a deal between Zelenskyy and Trump saying we're going to negotiate for peace and the U.S. gets to steal half of your rare mineral, resources. And it did not go entirely according to plan. So here's a couple of minutes from this embarrassment.
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you are not
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the President for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military?
We have problems.
And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems, even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know
bless.
That.
You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that. Remember this.
I'm not
you're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. But right now, you don't. Yeah, you're playing cards. You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. It's back to you. Far more than a lot of people said they should have.
Have you said thank you once?
A lot of times.
No, in this
even
entire
today,
meeting, you said thank
even
you.
Today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
Oh my God.
Man, I mean, it's so like I walk away from that rooting for Zelenskyy, and
which is hard.
Trump was right about some of the things he says about Zelenskyy. Even it's
just an embarrassing chastising of another head of state for whatever you might think about him, but to blame him more than the U.S. for putting him in that position, right? Because the truth is, as much as he's the leader of that country, but it is a vassal state of the U.S. Even if he wanted to, negotiate peace, as it seemed that he did, he has all of the crazy white supremacist Nazi, far right militia groups threatening to kill him if he negotiated peace. So if he doesn't have the backing of the U.S. to negotiate peace, he would just be dead in a forest. They said they'd string him up in a forest, right? So I think he is gross. I'm not a fan, but certainly he should not take the brunt of what the U.S. forced him to do, basically.
And everything he says about everything Trump and Vance are going after him for, let's be consistent and do that with Israel, because if you did that, I could respect your foreign policy. I mean, somewhat, but this is a power play. This is him trying to exert his authority after Musk making him the most beta, sigma, whatever the status is at the bottom. Yep. Trump is that guy. So now he goes on TV. And even in that respect, JD Vance comes out the top guy, although they look like fucking idiots. So none of it really works.
But thank you. Like what? Who are you talking to? Did you even say thank you?
Yeah, but all of that it plays into the base that's hanging on to support this guy still. That's like, dunked on another, the norms of, talking to diplomats. Why didn't he just call him the R word? That would have been hilarious.
Hilarious. And then liberals are seething because they think it's horrifying. The same people who haven't spoken out once about a genocide are like, the norms and the way you treat another head of state. And meanwhile, I don't know, we see the way he's treated other heads of state. We see the way other heads of state are treated in, South America, in the global South, right? The US treats a lot of people this way, just not normally white European heads of state. I mean, it's just so embarrassing.
Do we have the clip on the outfit?
Yes, but yes. So there's a clip on the outfit I'm about to show, but also this was the Ukrainian ambassador sitting watching this.
But you're saying you don't want a ceasefire? I want a ceasefire because you get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
That wasn't with me. That wasn't with me.
And by the way, it is, his people do want a ceasefire. There have been poll after poll. Over 500,000 Ukrainians have been slaughtered for what? And they're stealing men, truly kidnapping men off the streets to force them just to be human, cannon fodder, because they're not well trained. They're older than they should be or younger than they should be, depending, both ends of the spectrum. Yeah. Men are trying to flee. They're kidnapping them basically just to go and be killed. It's a suicide mission. Or a forced, And
it's not traditional combat. They just drones just come in and blow them up. A drone just finds them. There's a person over there hiding in a tunnel. Boom, dead. That's the war that's happening in Ukraine right now.
And for what? Just because to weaken Russia, to weaken China. It really is a bunch of evil, risk board game nerds. Doing their little strategy, and Victoria Nuland and John McCain this has been going on for, obviously even since before 2014, but this was never going to go well for Ukrainians. We all knew it before Russia invaded, as the belligerence was amping up by Biden. And I can't find these anymore. They've been scrubbed, but Zelenskyy was putting out I think even tweets, but in, papers when he was being interviewed, let's try to find a truce. Let's find a way not to make this, because Biden kept saying, Putin's going to invade in 3 weeks. He's going to invade in 2 weeks. And, as they're amplifying our troops or NATO troops on the border. And he was, even then, before the invasion, trying to figure out a way to have a treaty, and the U.S., prohibited it. So here we are. They're going to lose more land.
he was up against the entire military industrial complex, which needed to justify producing and using bombs to produce more bombs, to produce more capitalist profits for the bombs and for BlackRock and for, for Amazon, because, BlackRock owns a shit ton of Amazon. So it's all interconnected, and the whole country and the elites and the oligarchy, they all get rich off the more war you have. And we backed out of Afghanistan. So what did that mean? We needed somewhere to go. This was it. This is a wet dream for all the bomb makers. And then, they're just so overt about, like, Trump wants the resource. This whole deal is pretty much contingent on getting the natural resources of the lithium and other things that Ukraine is enriched by. Like,
and not allowing them to get cheap energy from Russia, which is why they blew up the Nord Stream pipeline, right? So, like, honestly, not allowing Europe. So, I mean, this fracture between the US and Western Europe, I don't know that we come back from this, or that Europe comes back from this. I mean, I don't know, last week, and we didn't pull the clip, but last week, was it the Chancellor of Germany or something? It's like in tears after JD Vance spoke to them and said, like, we all need to look out for ourselves now. And he's like holding back tears, truly, as he's speaking, the Chancellor guy from Germany. But like, the US has sort of destroyed their economy. I mean, the German economy has tanked because of this war. I mean, I don't know. And somebody said it in the chat, and I'm sorry, because it's way back there and I can't find it now, but certainly any head of state who becomes the puppet of the US empire knows what his destiny will be, right? Like, look what we did with Saddam Hussein. Look what we did with Gaddafi. This is how the US works.
Yeah, I don't know. This is on, we're not talking about the economy at all really here, but all these ridiculous tariffs, and we're going to be so isolated. Like, we've lost all our power. BRICS has taken over. We're telling our allies to get fucked. I don't disagree with getting out of this war with Russia and Ukraine.
Yeah,
it never should have happened, of course. But like, we sold the whole world on this idea that this is how you stop Russia from domino theorying its way through.
And there's no indication of imperial Russia, like, spread it, the Lebensraum or whatever.
No, it's nonsense. It always was
total nonsense. And
Russia shouldn't have invaded, but we your actions have consequences. We know we're pushing them to invade, and that's what happened. It was like,
just as we would. I mean, look, we can't even stand it when Chinese do military drills, in a space halfway across the world. That feels antagonistic and like provoking the US. So certainly when it's on your border, when you're banning the Russian language, and there are plenty of people in the Donetsk region who feel like they are, Russian identity, and to ban their news stations, to ban oppositional political parties that are left, but not the far right ones, of course. Nothing about this was for democracy or freedom. They're not joining NATO. It was just a 3-year exercise in how many people can we kill while we're shoveling money to the military industrial complex. And as you said, disaster capitalism, because BlackRock is going to come right in to, pick up the pieces.
Yeah. And when you make it about democracy and you back the guy who canceled elections, who was shown to be massively corrupt, his own people couldn't fucking stand him because they knew about the Pandora Papers.
Yep.
He's
the money,
so guilty
because he was funded by that billionaire guy. Yeah.
Right. And they were sheltering all this money offshore, funneling it from their country to himself personally. They all knew that. And then they go to war.
And all those weapons that go to these neo-Nazi far right, parts of the military that are very much entrenched in the military and part of that society. It does not mean that all of Ukraine are neo-Nazis, but they now have black market weapons because what was it, like a third of the weapons they can't even account for? I mean, that's going to have blowback, right? Like
it's already had some blowback in Europe where these neo-Nazis are using them in Europe.
And some of them actually trained some of the Proud Boys who were in the Unite the Right in Charlottesville, where Heather Heyer was killed. I mean, and actually also some of the January 6th protesters. Yeah, it's a horrific situation. It also, liberals spent 3 years trying to normalize Nazis. And everybody knew the Azov Battalion and Right Sector and Stephen Bandera are not people that we should consider heroes or make excuses for in any way. And instead, we paraded these people around like they were, on the side of freedom and, victory against the evil Russian Empire, which fine, of course, I'm not a fan of Putin's, but there's just never any room for nuance. And we could have stuck to the laws that the US has of not arming right-wing Nazi battalions. So just a huge disaster. But the thing that really matters to the Republicans in that room the most, best costume.
My second question for President Zelenskyy. Why don't you wear a suit? Why don't you wear a suit? You're at the highest level in this country's office, and you refuse to wear a suit. Just want to see if do you own a suit?
Yeah, you have problems.
A lot of Americans have problems with you not respecting.
I don't have such. I will wear a costume after this war will finish. Okay. Yes, maybe something like yours. Yes, maybe something better. I don't know. We will see. Maybe something cheaper than. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for.
I mean, these are the adults in the room. It's just so embarrassing.
I mean, just to remind everybody, last week we had Musk in the Oval Office, not wearing a suit, running the fucking press conference with his kid running around on his shoulders, and
picking his nose, yelling
boogers on the goddamn presidential desk.
Yeah.
The hypocrisy is just so overt. And then, you got Democrats out there going, John Fetterman, the guy who wears sweatpants to the.
Yeah, he's authentic, and he's the new face of America, or the Democratic Party. Yeah, so that was just all a horrific embarrassment. I mean, truly, I hope they actually do end this war. What Trump is going to do a deal with Putin for his minerals or resources. I don't know. It's just one big, the world is their bank, apparently. And that's really all they care about.
We may just end up allies with Russia at the end of this. Just US and Russia we're going to be our own. Russia's going to leave BRICS and it'll be us and Russia.
No, I don't think so. I don't think Russia's going to leave BRICS.
Oh,
listen, I would love to have good relations with Russia and China and Iran and India and there's nothing about Trump that is pleasing to me at all. And his whole money above everything else, but he does seem a little more willing. He's trying to look at the profit motive for himself over the war and the military industrial complex. And even though what he's doing with Palestinians is disgusting and just as genocidal as Biden and sending, shipping them now, what is it, $10 billion in the last 2 weeks or something? I mean, it's just horrifying because he, doesn't see Palestinians as people and he sees that as land development. But not excusing it, but he doesn't seem to be itching to ramp up tensions with people he thinks that he can make a good business deal with, right? And so Elon has business with China and, Trump thinks he's going to get something with the minerals. So I don't know.
I mean, that's why they're not going.
No hope for anything right now. I'm just grasping. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's all transactional to benefit himself. Obviously, that's why they're not going after the Pentagon, because it's all, he's not going to make real enemies that fund our government. You know, He's not. And, as long as he keeps backing Israel, they're going to be off in their next few wars, and we're going to be part of it. So there's the bombs. So the bomb people are they're going to be happy. They see this shutting down, and he's weighing, well, what kind of profit and natural resources can we exploit versus losing all the bomb making money? But we got the bomb making money in Israel still, so we're good. It's just transactional.
It's all transactional. And I know I think Makaria said earlier that they are now saying it's almost 1 million Ukrainians who have been killed. And certainly I think in Russia, there's also about 500,000 that they're admitting to. I mean, it's hard to know, but for what? Like, honestly, these people are so disgusting and evil, but like, if they're going to take the money anyway, just fucking pass it off to the military industrial complex and skip the part where we slaughter or allowed to be slaughtered hundreds of thousands of people. Like, why do that? What's the point of that? They're in a worse position now. The sanctions didn't work. BRICS has only been made stronger by this. And for what? For what? Okay. What else is going on with the GOP? What else?
GOP. Let's see. We got the emails going out. Hey, you better explain your job. This is like,
yeah, they're going back to this. They kind of waffled on it, but now they seem set in their ways on this one. Elon gets everything he wants. Have you noticed? Like, it is really interesting to see.
Yeah, how they don't have the. Yeah. I'm sorry to cut you off. They don't have the authority for any of this madness. It's all illegal. Yeah. It's all going to end up the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court's going to say you can't do any of that, even though the Supreme Court is fully corporate owned. It's just so ridiculous on its face that they have every ruling that has pushed presidential powers on this level has been overturned 9-0, and that's not going to change even with as captured as they are. It's too ridiculous to give the executive this much power.
It's terrible. It's not besides what it means for the elevation of one branch of government and how we have no checks and balances anymore. It's also clearly not efficient. They keep firing people that they then have to scramble to bring back, but then they don't have their emails. It's like it is the direct opposite of efficiency. And it does just feel like, that thing that, oh my gosh, Adam Johnson from Citations Pod and other things, obviously, but he calls them cry bullies, because they're just such pathetic little schoolyard bullies. And then the second something doesn't go their way, they just have a little tantrum about it. And this thing of just going in and having these 20-year-old Doge kids get into everybody's private information, fire whoever they want, and nobody is stepping in to do anything. Like, we've invaded countries for less than this, right?
There are not naturally, but there have been put in place tremendous protections against people seeing this information that these kids have fucking access to.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't happen for a reason. Like, these protections were put in place and they're just bypassing them all with no authority. There's no authority to stop the funding of all these programs.
Right. But there also seems to be no authority on the other side to prevent this from happening in a timely fashion. It really, all the safeguards to protect our democracy have been completely stripped away if they ever existed at all. But to just see what has it been, 2 months, not even a month and a half, 6 weeks.
Right. Well, the Trump term 1, they threw around constitutional crisis, that phrase, all the time.
Right.
And we never even got close to it.
Yeah.
But we are this time. This is going to be the courts versus the executive branch. And that, like I said, that's even a really captured corporate court. But ultimately, the future of the whole country depends on some of these protections being, just for the economic impact that these guys' policy is going to have. I mean, it's going to be like everybody's fucking poor and then some people are rich. Like that's where this economy heads rapidly.
Yeah, there was, God, somebody today was showing on Reddit, and the person said, I'm 60 years old. I have I don't know if an advanced degree, or I've been doing whatever the specialty is for years. I was fired. I'm trying to find more work. I can't afford anything. And then in like different Reddit groups of people who are unemployed, not everybody, the examples were people who are like, I don't even know what's going to happen. I just want to die. And it was just like dozens of that. I'm poor. I work so hard and I'm poor. And I can't even find a job now. I'm on LinkedIn. I keep getting, no hits on me. Like, what is the plan for these billionaires?
It's just them getting richer and richer. Yeah.
I love this.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Elon just sent an email. Please respond with 5 bullets.
Yeah. All right.
I wanted to point out, Reflect the Sun. Good comment. And I just want to say something about Bitcoin is going to be U.S. strategic reserve. Wouldn't surprise me if Trump's U.S. foreign policy fund starts buying Tesla stock that hands him more tax breaks. Well, I just learned today that the largest Bitcoin, or what do they call them? That are the other coins.
Yeah.
Is held by BlackRock.
The crypto.
The largest crypto coin is BlackRock. So if you don't think that's a part of the future of exploiting our country, you're just not following it, because the fact that BlackRock has the biggest coin, now that we're moving to coins and you got the pro coin president, and the coin people spent, other than the pharmaceutical company, the most money on the last presidential election.
And it's all just like, that's the real Ponzi scheme, right? There's only like, they keep selling these coins and just taking everybody's money and then cashing out. I mean, Trump did it. Like
it's called a rug pull. They fluff up the coin. It goes up, and in a week they sell the damn thing. It's the Hawk Tuah girl did it. Everybody with the name who can put their name on a coin does it. And it's just apparently legal now to basically defraud,
bilk people out of their money. Yeah. And, meanwhile, we have Elon Musk he really, the more, it's kind of like a Kamala thing. Like the more he talks, the more I can't believe anybody ever had any faith in him. For liberals, he was the good billionaire, or one of the three, right? It was him, Buffett, and Gates were the ones that they all loved. But every time he opens his mouth, he just sounds like an ignoramus. He doesn't know what he's talking about. This is him on Joe Rogan the other night talking about how Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. And listen as he's pressed on it, how difficult it is for him to articulate what he's saying, because nobody ever questions him. He's used to just saying something, and all of his yes boys just, go along with it.
Well, I mean, the government's one big pyramid scheme, if you ask me.
Yeah, well, you can tell me better than anybody.
Social Security is the biggest Ponzi scheme of all time.
Right, explain that.
Oh, so, people pay into Social Security, and the money goes out of Social Security immediately, but the obligation for Social Security is your entire retirement career. So you're paying with you're paying like if you look at the future obligations of Social Security, it far exceeds the tax revenue. Far. Have you ever looked at the debt clock?
Yes.
Okay. There's our present day debt, but then there's our future obligations. So when you look at the future obligations of Social Security, the actual national debt is like double what people think it is, because of the future obligations. So basically, people are living way longer than expected, and there are fewer babies being born. So you have more people who are retired and that live for a long time and get retirement payments. So the future obligations. So however bad the financial situation is right now for the federal government, it will be much worse in the future.
First of all, he's wrong. Of course, we know this, right? They could raise the cap so that rich people had to pay into it more than they do.
Pretty simple solution. Pretty simple.
That's the only one that they never want to do.
Amount. That's it. That's all you have to do to make this solvent.
And as Gunnels says, and actually even Elon Musk in his ridiculous tweet got community noted that said much of the same. If we do nothing, it can pay 100% of benefits until 2035 and 83% after that. If we pass Bernie's Social Security bill to scrap the cap, it will be solvent for 75 years. Benefits will go up by $2,400 and 91% won't pay a penny more in taxes. You greedy South African billionaire. But you know, this is the other thing, all of the deaths, and this is why they are acclimating us to this, like, that's a lot. Some people are going to fall by the wayside. Well, it was just affecting people who are disabled or whatever. So many Americans died from COVID. It's boosting Social Security to the tune of $205 billion. So it's working out for them.
It's working out for them. And as they're letting everybody die from COVID, it keeps them coming to work as long as they can, but then they die. So they don't get benefits. They don't have, you know, and this sync that with privatizing Medicaid. So you get less coverage. So there's less government expense to your health care. And because it's bad coverage, you're going to die earlier too. So this whole thing benefits, you know, I'm not a conspiracy theory. I don't think this was some global plan to decrease the population, but
you mean spreading COVID?
Yeah. I don't think COVID.
Yeah, no, but the response to it, what is a conspiracy?
Yeah, I mean, the response should be
conspire together.
Keep people alive. Let's just put in some safety stuff. But you know, you got all these benefits to not doing anything.
Yep.
And you got all the pressure from all the people who buy the local politicians to keep the local businesses going. And you know, we want the bars and restaurants open. So on a local level, you don't even get pushback because the mayor in your local town needs that money to keep funding things. And who runs the local government? The local commerce, every fucking place you live.
The urgency of normal. Gotta get back to normal. The only silver lining in all of this is, you know, for all the sanctions that we've put on China, they have somehow managed to do a better system of electric vehicles, a better AI, what's it called? The MLM. So this is the silver lining. Billionaires were earning $10 billion a day in January, and they are suddenly watching their net worth get wiped out. Elon Musk has lost $90 billion alone. Cry me some tears. Throughout the month of January, it's estimated that the world's richest people saw their fortunes swell by $314 billion, a figure that's about the collective salary of 15 million workers. But for many billionaire businessmen, from Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, Larry Ellison, that high didn't last. The Bloomberg Billionaire Index is heaving with numbers in the negatives. All of the world's richest technology, consumer, and industrial leaders are being hit hard. Tech billionaires in particular, who make up many of the world's richest people, are watching their wealth take a tumble. It follows DeepSeek's breakout success. The Chinese tech underdog rocked the market, startling competitors like Meta and spurring praise from NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang. DeepSeek's revolutionary low-cost R1 model has wiped billions off the stock market. So, you know.
Yeah, so that's a mixed blessing in itself, though, because when you take the money away from the billionaires, they put more money into the politicians to fuck us some more, which is why you got Elon Musk literally in power right now, finding cuts to harm us to get his wealth back.
Yeah. I wasn't listening to you because I was reading everybody's.
Somebody said you're right. Did they?
No, I was just reading all the comments, and I thought you were going to talk a little longer, and I could like hook in and catch up. But and so I just said, yeah, exactly. That's exactly right.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Let me tell you. I'll tell you a story about my cat in a second.
Yeah, and exactly. They were planning, and that's still the plan, right? Sam Altman saying, like, we're going to have a new social contract. None of us got to vote on this. None of us, there was no democratic debate if we want AI to take over everything and replace us as workers. Or if that's going to happen, then great. We don't need to, as what was the sweet spot of the 60-hour a week?
Hour a week is according to the Google, what's his name?
Sergey Brin. Yeah.
Right.
60-hour work week is the sweet spot for productivity. I mean, they will not be happy until they've sucked every
off. Fuck off. Catch a bullet. I mean, I'm sorry. What? 60 hours a week? You know, I worked in law for a long time, and the lawyers come in and they have to slave through 60, sometimes even 80-hour weeks their first few years, which sucks. It's awful.
Right.
But they're rewarded financially for it like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
Now you take the guy working at fucking Target and put him on a 60-hour week because he's got two jobs, because but he's not paying the bills, or she's not paying her bills. She has to do it. And there's no advantage. There's no, I'm suffering for this amount of time and things get better.
Yeah.
And this Google guy's like, everybody should work 60 hours a week. That's when they're most productive.
Show us your commitment. Yeah. And that, again, it was like a whole concerted project. I think it started in the Industrial Revolution to make people feel like work makes you, and I do think we all should have a purpose. We should all, serve our communities or do things to be useful, to be part of the community in any way you're able to, not like sitting at a desk for 60 hours a week. Like, I understand that idea. Pat just left us. But the 60-hour work week, which then you still can't even afford housing or food or medical care. I mean, this is a recipe for a lot of guillotine action or bullets. And, you're not leaving people with any choice. They're going to, and now they're trying to do the thing that they have in Canada, the MAID, medically assisted suicide. I don't remember what the IG is. Yeah.
What do you mean?
But it's the idea of it. And I know we've talked about this before, because there was like a crazy Twitter fight a few months ago about it. The idea in its purest form is, if you have a terminal illness, but you had a dignified life where all of your needs were met, and you have good health care that is free or cheap and doesn't bankrupt you, and then your terminal illness is still truly terminal, not because they just refuse to, pay out on their claims, that you could make the choice to end your life. That's very different from how it's being used now by people who are feeling so distraught that their basic needs aren't being met. And so it's just another way of getting us used to being like, that's probably not worth it. And when you are the head of the public health, or the voice of public health in this country, in the Belief Science Administration, and as Rochelle Walensky or Fauci were saying, like, some people are just going to die. We're just going to have to get used to 150,
and they really are
people dying every year.
They really are trying to normalize that, left and right. Like, oh, there's a measles outbreak. Oh, we got a little measles. And here's the thing. If you get measles, you're looking at oftentimes 9 months, 6 to 9 months. I might be making up the 6 to 9, but I feel like it's in there. But it's a long time. This is not a, like, you get over your cold thing. Like, how do you survive that? This is not, and we got everybody not vaccinating their kids on these basic things, diseases that shouldn't exist at all, if we just fucking kept up with the vaccines.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But I just want to back to AI for just a split second.
Yeah.
I almost never go to fast food anymore, but I went to Taco Bell because it was the only place close to my job site where I was working, where I could sneak over there and back without my boss knowing I went out for lunch. Right. So, but I went in there, and they have a no counter ordering system now.
Yeah.
You have to go to a goddamn computer and punch in all this stuff.
Yep.
And I went in there. It took me like 5 minutes to put my order in, not because I'm tech idiot. I'm a mom of the net, over here.
Where's the mouse?
But I finally figured out, you got to do this stuff. And I just sat back and watched people come in there. And it was such a bog of people just stuck there looking at the stupid fucking screen of like, what the fuck is this? Nobody likes it. Nobody wants it. It's awful.
And the same thing happens at the self-checkout, right?
It saves you like half an employee or something.
Yeah.
It's garbage.
But it is so worth it to them. Like, they will they will cheat us out of, the $15 an hour or whatever to save it's just evil. I mean, they are truly evil. It's not a smart way to do business. It's a horrible way to run a society. And
but they're not being punished enough for that, for any of that use now. Like I should never go to Taco. I won't anymore anyway.
No, I know, but
it was a dire situation. But like, we should reject that. We should start rejecting the self-checkouts as much as I want to self-checkout because I hate dealing with people too. But we got to reject all that shit. We got to reject AI. We got to not let these jobs be taken over by dumb, fucking annoying computers.
And I mean, the amazing thing is in the pages of our corporate, legacy media, they are trying to make all of this feel normal, right? So like the egg thing, we've got this Anne Lowry in the Atlantic. It's weird the eggs were ever cheap. Like, get used to it. Didn't we tell you to eat cereal for breakfast?
Yeah, eggs should have always been $25.
Yeah, you got away with it all this time. Now you're just where you should be. And they say stuff like that, like when they're like, "Oh, gas is so cheap in America, and Americans need their cheap gas." Yeah, because we don't have a living wage, so you can't you're burning the candle at both ends. Like, you can't do that to people. Yeah, we do need cheap things if you're not going to pay people.
And we don't have public transit, so other countries don't. Gas is a luxury over there because look, they can just hop on a bus train combo. That's just a brilliant system that works out like a charm.
Fast and
and we don't have that. We are so far behind the rest of the world. It's amazing.
But that same lady, of course, she wrote this last year, 2 years ago. Inflation is your fault. If people are so mad about high prices, why do they keep buying so many expensive things like eggs? What, you want protein in your breakfast?
Whoa, did you buy a cell phone?
Yeah.
Come on, a cell phone. You say you're kids and your cell phones.
Oh my God, the avocado toast thing just keeps coming back. Yeah, so they're just evil people. I feel like we had one other thing, but that's probably it. Should we move on? Oh, that's what I wanted to just say is at RFK. So awful person, taking away childhood vaccine schedule. I actually downloaded somebody, I can't remember her name now, but went to the CDC website and took screenshots of the PDFs of, the vaccine schedule for kids, for adults, for people with disabilities, all the or comorbidities or whatever, so that we would have it, because maybe they're just going to take away all of this or change their recommendations, or, they canceled the meeting with the pharma that designs the flu vaccine for this coming fall. So,
and even the delay on that is going to kill lots of people. Like, this is the thing. It's like RFK's thing is, we're going to take it off until we study it more. Well, that's a delay, which means our flu vaccine is going to be a season behind, or, it's not going to be it's just, all of this is just awful. No consideration about anything but money for the people at the top. Yeah. RFK believes his stupid shit, but that's why they picked him, because then they can stop funding some things, because enough people also think he's some sort of savior because he's a health guy or something.
Yeah. And already, raw milk and the purple blue drops or whatever.
Whatever.
And they were already defunding it, right? Like, they already took the COVID money. They haven't been funding. They have not kept the vaccines up to date. They haven't kept the tests up to date. We don't have a cure for long COVID. Like, that was already happening. So again, it's how both parties work in tandem, and nobody even trusts our public health departments anymore anyway, because of what's happening with COVID.
For the people that sort of paid attention to this stuff, it's all worse now, but you expect the Republicans to be worse, and they're just fulfilling the duty that was, they ran on being worse and all this shit. Like, this is why you need a Democratic Party, or we don't have it, but that's why you would like a Democratic Party that actually resisted. And the problem is, too many people still think they can vote our way out of this shit. And it's just
that's
on the table.
Over. The last thing, this is a really quick clip, but RFK is such a scumbag, and he's been wealthy his whole life, obviously, and in like these elite circles. So somebody was asking him, because, there was we're not really covering it, but the big Epstein release which of course was all redacted and then handed off to like, the worst right-wing influencer kinds of people, as if it's all a joke. Like, people were raped, kids were raped, women were raped, men, boys, girls. Like, it's disgusting. And it's like a big joke. Plus it's redacted, but somebody was asking him if he knew Epstein. And this is his brilliant response.
Yeah. So, and you run into everybody in New York. I mean, I knew Harvey Weinstein. I knew Roger Ailes. I knew O.J. Simpson came to my house. Bill Cosby came to my house.
No, it wasn't just Epstein. I wasn't just friends with a serial rapist. Yeah. It was murderers too. It was other rapists. My God.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I pulled a clip earlier that I just decided not to even put up because it would get nicked for it for sure. But Idiocracy, the movie, so much of it is just so absurdly ridiculous and actually happening in front of us right now. It's just, all of it is happening in front of us.
Yeah. And again, it's why we cannot let up on Democrats, because right now it's the only party of opposition. And clearly they're perfectly fine with this. They're doing nothing. They're just lying back and letting the country totally get decimated by these people. And they deserve all of our anger and hatred as much as the Republicans, because they are working together. It's the whole team. So we're going to get to them next. Should we spin?
We should always spin.
Always. Okay. Whoops.
Whoa. What is that?
Wow. What are you doing, Pat?
Yeah, baby.
All right. Don't mind if I do. I got a refill, but I'm just going to also quickly spin again. One second.
Yeah, baby.
Look at that. All right. Puppets.
Puppets it is. Let's see some doggos.
Touchy.
Oh my God.
Oh my.
Huh?
That was Dog Zoomies, and I think that was a Truth to Tweet recommendation. So thank you for sending us all those fun videos. That was very cute. Very cute. All right, let's talk about these pretend feckless Democrats who are not feckless at all.
Where do we start? Do we start with
it goes every different way.
It's
all right, this
working
I like.
really well.
Yeah.
The donors aren't even liking this.
Yeah, the donors are pissed. I don't actually even know what they're pissed about, because this is talking, I think, mostly about wealthy donors, and they get whatever they want, whoever's in charge. It's not like they're like, get in there and fight for universal health care. But
no, those are the lib. It's the lib donor class. It's the multi-millionaire, but not.
They like feeling good about themselves, with the social, like the social justice. I mean, those are real issues, but they don't cost them any money. So they like to feel good about themselves in that way. I'm fiscally conservative, but socially liberal. They're those people.
Absolutely. And the Democratic Party, the rank and file people that work for the Democratic Party, they are not the people that really want all the evil donor influence, but they're just not affected by it usually is what it comes down to. So like they're not choosing to like say we don't want Medicare or something, like it's It's not that. But anyway, moving on.
Wait, you're talking, okay, yeah, well, just because they are saying, they want us to spend money, and for what? No message, no organization, no forward thinking. The thing that's clear to a lot of us is that the party never really learned its lesson in 2016. They worked off the same playbook and the same ineffective strategies, and to what end? And, right now we've got Jeffries being asked about Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo, who's running for New York City mayor, who had to resign in disgrace after it was 16, I think, sexual assault accusations. That was one thing. The other thing was his handling of COVID, where he sent 10,000 senior citizens to their death by forcing COVID patients into assisted living facilities and leaving the liability for those. Yeah.
I mean, we all tend to forget, but he was the counter alternative to, he was on TV daily, propped up by the media as the Democratic response to Trump handling COVID irresponsibly.
Yep.
And that ends with him having murdered all sorts of people with his policies about the nursing homes.
I mean, it's truly abominable. And then this, I think this was back in November. Yeah, November. Andrew Cuomo joins high-powered legal team to defend Netanyahu against ICC's war crime claims. So this is the guy that Hakeem Jeffries is like, well, we have to see what he says as during his candidacy and during his run. No, he should be shunned. I mean, they all should be shunned. They don't care about any of this, but it just shows you who this party is.
So you're going to go from Adams, who most regular old Democrats can see is corrupt as all fuck.
Yeah.
It's not a mystery. It's not a mystery to the people in New York. He's just implementing corporate bullshit policies. He's broken all the emoluments clause himself. He's just a dirty politician, clear as day. And they won't come out and even admonish him. But you're going to replace him with what? Who else can you find that's as corrupt as Cuomo? Does New York have to be run by a corrupt Democrat? What is the message to the rest of the country when you put the most high-profile corrupt Democrat in charge to replace the most high-profile corrupt Democrat you have?
I mean, they think he's a good fundraiser and he, is a good Zionist, and they honestly do not care about policy at all. They don't care that regular people can't live in Manhattan anymore. They don't care that he, is full on board with a genocide or, what happened to the Me Too movement. I mean, they don't care about anything. They have no principles, no ideology. Nothing matters except for making money. That's really all that matters. He is being, another person, and we've already shown one of his, a video of his Zoran Mamdani is his name. He's a socialist running for New York mayor also. And we showed a video a few months ago where he has this great idea about city grocery stores that would basically be, government run by the municipality, so that there was a safety net or a cap to how high your groceries could gouge you out of your paycheck, basically. He also, I didn't know this, but his mom was a director of Mississippi Masala. Remember that movie with Washington? No, it was really good, actually. It was good. But anyway, that's somebody that you might want to get behind if, Tim Walz, who was just interviewed, you want to pretend that Democrats actually care about the needs of their people. You cannot have Walz, who is possibly a decent person. I don't know, not good on Israel. I don't know enough about him, but he did get a few, policies in Minnesota that were incredibly helpful, and they were for the working class. I know there are negatives about him, but
there are negatives, but I know a few Minnesotans and they love him to death. And, just that alone makes him not one of the worst, for sure.
Yeah. So here he is, but who was going to believe this? So
look, I hear the thing out there is that when we get back, which we we'll fight. I'll tell you what people are going to expect is they're not going to expect us to tinkle around the edge with the ACA. They're going to expect universal health care. And if there's a lesson here, I always said this, we had a 1-vote majority in Minnesota when we moved clean energy, we moved reproductive rights, we moved a whole slew of progressive, very popular, including things around guns and gun safety, very popular things. We moved it with a 1-vote majority. And people ask, well, what do you call a 1-vote majority? A majority. Simple as that.
I mean, and I believe he's sincere because of what he did in Minnesota, but that's not the Democratic Party. When Kamala picked him, they were like, that was the surge. And then as soon as they sidelined him and went with the Mark Cuban, Liz Cheney plan, that was the end. That was it. But
yeah, and just
like nobody's expecting Democrats ever to do anything. They don't do anything. They never do anything.
His analysis is dead wrong. I mean, I'm glad he's pushing it. Yeah. Like, hey, they're going to expect this from us. No, regular people are going to expect you just to not suck as much as the right did. Just suck a little less. That's good enough for a lot of people. But I just want to remind people, he's talking about a 1-seat majority. California, reminder, we have a super majority Democratic Party here. We could set the tone for all these states for like, here's a good policy that people benefited from and like, and we also lowered emissions and we could be the example. Anytime the Democratic Party wanted to wake up, and the Democratic Party on their own could put enough pressure on these people who have future career ambitions, like Gavin Newsom, our governor. You could, if you were an ethical party and you really gave a shit about any of these things they pretend to represent, you make California example, it spreads everywhere. And we alone, it could go the other way. California alone is such a fundraiser for the entire Democratic Party that anything we wanted to force on the Democratic Party, we also have that leverage to go that way.
That's right. Yeah. And, another criticism, huge criticism of Cuomo, because New York could also be that, right? Could be like the coastal elites, right? He and his like Republican Democrats basically gerrymandered New York, cut it up differently. And it's part of the reason that Democrats lost House seats in New York, right? Like that, every time they're like, oh yeah, we have to run a Joe Manchin because we're in conservative West Virginia, or we're going to run, what's her name? Amy McGrath and not Booker, because, she's the Democrat who's basically said she was going to be like a Trump Democrat because, that's Mitch McConnell territory. We can't go too far left or progressive. People around the country, whether they are right or left, need those policies. They want those policies. I know we all know that, and then they'll be like, oh, it's the primaries. But like Bernie Sanders won every single county in 2016 in West Virginia's primary, right? So like there is a space for that if they want, if the party wants it, but they don't want it. Like that's never going to happen.
What I really feel like they want in California now is to lose their supermajority as fast as fucking possible, because it's holding them accountable and they are losing it. It's slipping away because of their hypocrisy on all these issues. People look at them and say, how are you any different than the Republican Party?
Yep.
They have a Republican that can come in a local election and say, look at the hypocrisy of these guys.
Yep.
On all these issues. And they're not wrong. Their solution is wrong as well. They're corrupt as fuck, right. But it's the same thing. And you're like, well, this hasn't worked. Yeah. You guys didn't do shit for us.
And I'm not going to take time out of my day as I'm shuttling between childcare and my 3 jobs that can barely pay for our basic needs to go stand in line at a polling place to vote for one of your crummy nominees. Like, it's just not going to happen. Why would they? Has anything changed? If 8 years of Obama couldn't raise our minimum wage, if Kamala didn't even run on the minimum wage, and now we have the pod boys coming out, and it's like, it's a joke. It's a laugh. Here's what they had to say about the parliamentarian. Now, when it matters, not a drop.
Famously, we couldn't raise the minimum wage through budget reconciliation.
Because there's something called the Byrd Rule, named after Robert Byrd, which dictates what is allowed in the budget resolution process. When there is a question, the Senate parliamentarian rules on that. Now, it is worth noting that the presiding officer of the Senate can ignore the parliamentarian, and some of us may have made a case that they should have done that back then. But lo and behold, we don't have voting rights, but at least the parliamentarian's integrity is intact.
I don't know. Did they scream from the rooftops? Because I don't remember them. I mean, maybe they were like, oh, they could, but like, where were these people? And even with Walz, I mean, I know he was brought in, like, of course he can't like overrule what Kamala and all the Biden sycophants behind her who were pushing her campaign were doing. But like, there was a time when that mattered. It doesn't matter now. These people only ever speak up like this when Republicans are in power.
Of course. And, you know, Walz was put on the ticket for what he represented and then told to shut the fuck up. And they didn't put his message out there at all.
Yep.
That's it. And the boost that Kamala got was A, I'm not Joe Biden. B, I picked a progressive.
Yeah.
And they just squandered it. It would have been the easiest thing in the world to win. All she had to do was say, I'm going to be a little kinder to Palestine. And, you know, we're going to push for some of these lefty things. That's it.
Honestly, if she had been kinder to Palestinians, and I mean, it is unfathomable, honestly, that no one is pushing for a living wage. Like, how do we live in a society where your job cannot pay your bills? I mean, that's like, that doesn't work for anybody. There's no long-term way that works out well. And to be so disgustingly greedy that you cannot, you're already going to be billionaires, guys. You're like, it doesn't matter. You're losing 10 billion, you're gaining it. You're playing with the house money. You've got all the chips, but you can't even let people make enough money so they can just afford to put a roof over their head and feed their kids. Like, that's insanity. And Democrats can't even say that.
Well, I mean, you take California, for example, again. They put a ballot measure on to raise the minimum wage for the state that got rejected. But why did it get rejected? Because they didn't really fight for it. There wasn't money behind it to fight for it. And if there's no money behind it, it has to be the party fighting for it. You know, they don't want it. So now that it lost the ballot measure, that's justification for them to take it out of their platform. They're not going to try to raise the minimum wage in California anymore. They're done with that. And meanwhile, like, if there's one state where people can't afford to work and live, it's here.
Oh God. And yeah, in New York. I mean, honestly, yeah, but yeah, no, you're right. But people can't afford really. I mean, there's no state in this country where people can afford to live on a 40-hour job at minimum wage. So, all right. Should we, I mean, I don't know, like, there's the Karine Jean-Pierre clip. There's Stephen Smith, who's I'm so mad because for a second I thought he was great. And like, I like, you know, he's not left. He's not progressive. I think he possibly has some just like, I would think just like human feelings. Like, everybody needs to have healthcare or be able to support a family if they're working hard, right? Like, something that would just put him ahead of almost every Democratic politician. But then last week when he was like, oh, the extreme left and the extreme right are the same, when he was talking with Jeffries, and it's like,
yeah, he's a guy who doesn't follow politics closely, but has the astuteness, or whatever you want to call it,
perception,
to be able to look at the obvious. And he points out the obvious, and using his platform to point out the obvious is great. But he also was like, oh, we should see what Musk is going to do. Like, this is a good thing, you know, let's see it.
He's a good billionaire. You never know.
So he's not all that good, but he's not wrong in this clip. Let's show that clip.
All right. Are you pushing the button, or am I?
I don't know where it is.
The fact that I am a candidate for the presidency of the United States of America, according to the polling for the Democratic Party, is the most clear-cut evidence of how pathetic of a state of affairs that exists within the Democratic Party today. I have no business being on that list whatsoever. I am not qualified, but it just shows how pathetic things are at this particular moment in time.
I mean, he would probably get lots of votes just by saying that. I'm not qualified, but they're pathetic. And at least I'll be honest about what I'm thinking.
That's a winning message. I mean, if you're a Democrat, that would win over so many people who are just like, you know what, this guy might not even be smart, but look, it's he's gonna be a wrecking ball into all the bullshit.
Yep. All right.
Wait, since we're there,
yeah,
I think we should show Barkley because he's another guy covering basketball.
Yep.
Not the smartest guy when it comes to a lot of things, politics. But he's also like, you believe he's honest 1,000%
about what he
calls
believes,
out what he believes, and he's not wrong on this at all. And I love him for using his platform.
I agree.
Still don't know where the clip is.
I wish that people were smarter. Personally, I think these politicians, both parties suck. But I think they do a really good job of making us not like each other. America is not, racism exists, always has, and always will. Unfortunately, it's a disaster. But what America really has become is rich people against poor people. And I wish people would understand that politicians do a good job of making us fight with each other, but it's really rich people against poor people. They try to make it about black, white, immigration, homosexuality, and all these different things. But what it is rich people making poor people not like each other. And until we address that, we're never going to be successful.
Yep.
Here. He's not wrong. And I just want to add the asterisk to that I don't believe in the class wars, everything thing.
Right. The class
racism is a separate thing.
Right. Where it's used, I mean, it's useful for the class warriors.
Yes, it's all being manipulated is where he's going with that. Is they're leveraging this angst to make us pick teams, and we should get beyond that. We should be beyond racism. We should be about, but the class war itself doesn't fix a lot of these inequalities and the racist problems.
No, but I agree. I mean, of course, but it is helpful if people feel like they have enough, they're less likely to turn and hate somebody else, right? It's less likely to scapegoat. It doesn't mean, of course, there's always going to be racism, there's going to be bigotry, but the way to try to chip away at that is to make people feel taken care of and part of a society and a community, right? Like, not to make everybody have to work so hard and scrape by so that if an immigrant comes and gets a free meal, you resent them after they had to like try to escape death in 3 different countries to get here, even though like, of course, like, like they're making everybody so desperate that they're fighting over the crumbs.
They're fighting over the crumbs. And the important part is the class war allows for a scapegoat to exist. And the scapegoat is the minority, the trans person, the whatever, the immigrant. When really what he's saying is point your angst at the real people, which are the billionaires causing all these problems. And when you do that, you will eliminate a lot of the draw that racism has for some people.
Exactly. You're never going 100%. Just like, when and that was the Hillary thing, when she's like, if we break up the banks, it's not going to end racism. Like, really good point, lady. Or like everybody just voted for Trump because they all of a sudden, all the people who had voted for Obama, what was there, like 6 million of them voted for Trump. Like, they just became racist overnight. Like, it's just too easy of a scapegoat. And I'm not saying that there isn't a ton of racism amongst people who voted for Trump, but there's a hell of a lot of people who voted for Biden who is, just is racist in a different way. And actually, in some ways, his 40-year career was a way more dangerous way of being a disgusting bigot. Okay, are we spinning as we move on?
Let's do it.
Okay. Oh, wait a second. There we go. Got to get those little things right.
Baby.
Look at that. We have a good mix of that. All right. I'm pouring, multitasking. Close and spin.
Yeah, baby.
More. Oh, okay. It's a big gulp cup.
I made it 1 hour and 20 minutes on one beer.
That's not right.
I'm giving myself an Oscar medal.
Yeah, baby.
All right, come on. Give us a... No, all right. I think we just need a timeline time. We need something.
Timeline cleanse it is. Let's do some art.
We lost
Did
our
we lose our
sound.
music?
Yeah, I don't know why.
Sing, Lila.
I know I'm a horrible singer, but it's so clever. I just love it. It's really cute. I love it so much. And the shading is cool. It does.
It reminds me of
something when there's no music. Yeah, go ahead.
It does. It reminds me of at the end.
Yeah, the end.
I pulled it, but we didn't use it this week. But there's a muralist that takes existing trees and things that are like by walls.
Oh, I love that. Yeah,
and makes it into like
women's hair or like it like yeah. I love really that cool. Kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, sorry, and I did mean to do this. A lot of people said how much they love it and it's so creative. And Saul is raising an objection. We started off doing shot after shot. It was a fun, good time. And now you're nursing a beer for an hour and a half.
If it's any consolation, it's a jumbo beer. I mean, it's not the smallest beer, but yes, I agree. I'll do better. I will do better.
We need to figure out a way to bring some of that, the shot fun back. Okay.
Are you suggesting I take up a drug habit or something?
Yeah.
What do you
Get it going on.
Something.
Well, okay. So we have very little, we had thought originally that maybe this would be like, we would do like sort of like an awards show, but our take on it. And there was just so much going on that we felt like we had to get to, and we didn't want to minimize it. So we're going to do a little bit about what's happening in Israel, which is, continues to be horrifying. The Jerusalem Post just, it's the latest Israeli outlet to indeed, say what we've all known since October 7th of 2023, that the IDF carried out the Hannibal Directive, new Sword of Damocles operation on October 7th. The Israeli Air Force was carrying out a new Sword of Damocles operation as it was carrying out the Hannibal Directive. The IDF's probes found the Air Force was carrying out the Sword of Damocles operation, a code name only being revealed this past Thursday for the first time, to attack many Hamas commanders and their headquarters around 10:30 a.m. on October 7th, just as it was carrying out the Hannibal Directive of gunning down anything that moved around the Israeli-Gaza border. The Air Force has been questioned about if the forces it had invested in attacking Hamas commanders deep in Gaza would have been better used to defend the Gaza border and to attack Hamas invaders in Israeli villages. And, we've all known that this was the case. It's been, Gray Zone, Mondaweiss, Electric Intifada, almost a year and a half ago. I think Rafid Al-Arir said it, October 7th at night, knew that this is what happened. But once again, the way this was framed October 7th was to, make this atrocity propaganda to justify the genocide that they knew right away they were going to mete out on the Palestinians. And some of the very victims of their horrific, indiscriminate bombing was that Bibas family, the mother and her 2 little kids that we talked about, were returned last week. And the whole world knew that they had been killed a year and a half ago in, November of 2023. And Hamas said that they were killed in a tunnel by an Israeli bombing. And so last week, before they were returned, there was this new sort of fervor that was put out there, like, are they going to be alive? Are they not? I mean, they knew that they were deceased. And then there was all, as we said, the orange balloons because the kids had red hair. The Empire State Building lit up orange. And, I don't think that a single corporate outlet has talked about any Palestinian who's been killed by name, right? And that is a way of dehumanizing the hundreds of thousands of people who have been slaughtered in this genocide with our weapons and our money. But that is, again, being used to galvanize people even further, and like, why we can't have a ceasefire anymore. And, Hamas went against the deal. That Beitar group in the US, we showed the video of them putting a pager in Norman Finkelstein's jacket pocket. Here's a pager, like, we're going to blow you up. They did it also to fine art. And so Layla Al-Arian wrote, these are the names of Palestinian babies Israel killed before they reached their first birthday. Unfortunately, it's likely an undercount given the number of people missing and under the rubble. And they say, not enough. We demand blood in Gaza. Talking about babies. The genocidal mania in Israel is really, I don't know how this is going to be taken, how they are going to be reconditioned, re-educated to not be hateful, racist, genocidal maniacs. Like, what's going to happen?
I really don't know. I think you've got the economy Israel's economy is going to be damaged a lot. You got a lot of the world openly calling it genocide. So that's got to play on their psyche on some level. I mean, they're backed in corners with their belief system that they grew up with and were trained by the government to believe this stuff. But I can't help but think years from now, it'll be just like Nazi Germany. It'll be, we supported this. And
oh yeah. I mean, I am very happy that they are now, Mina, what's the group? And it was founded by Jamal Khashoggi. Oh my God, we just talked about last week. But anyway, trying to get the ICC now to investigate Biden and Blinken and Austin for their complicity in this genocide. I just want to see, all disgusting. Daniel Levy gave, I thought, a really good speech at the UN this past week. This is what he had to say about honoring the fallen.
One really must not forget the names of the Bibas children, Ariel and Kafir, the circumstances of their death, nor the name of Layla Al-Khatib, a 2-year-old Palestinian killed in her home in the occupied West Bank just days ago while eating dinner with her family, or 5-year-old Hind Rajab, bombed and denied medical attention, dead with her family. Those lost in the turned-off incubators of Al-Shifa Hospital. A minute of silence for each of the Bibas children would be appropriate, as would a minute of silence for each of the more than 18,000 Palestinian children murdered in Israel's devastation of Gaza. That silence would extend to over 300 hours. And our task is to prevent that conflict and that human suffering. And it results from political conflict, preventable tragedies, and the many more tragedies that await if steps are not.
Yeah. It's just, and now we are, Trump just sent billions of dollars more, and Netanyahu's lying about Hamas breaking the ceasefire because Hamas says that they don't want to return any more hostages unless they get to phase 2. And phase 2 is talking about the withdrawal of troops and a true ending of, Israel's siege. And instead they are now implementing a blockade on all food, any aid getting in to Gaza entirely. And, that just, again, goes against their insistence that they're not an occupying force. Then how do they have control over all the borders, the water, the electricity? But that's also a war crime. It's collective punishment. And you're not, yeah.
Well, they're already planning and publicly breaking the terms of their ceasefire agreement.
Yep.
And it's not like some investigative journalism that we did to find this out, but where's the press on this? So
press
can we get some
lying? Yeah.
Some
so
press to cover any of this?
They're saying it's because of Hamas. Hamas rejects Israel's request to extend phase 1 because they want assurances that this is going to end. They don't want to just return their only power, their only, source of being able to wage any leverage here. And of course, they're getting absolutely no help from the Trump administration because, they don't care. So that was because all these people do such good work. Mohammed Shahada listing, the difference, by the way, between NPR framing it only as Hamas rejecting this, like they're the ones who are, avoiding trying to come to the table and have any peace. But the truth is, in where is it? Oh my goodness, sorry. Well, anyway, even in Israel, they are very clear that it's Bibi's fault. Up to his old tricks, Netanyahu weaponizes grief and put stage 2 of Gaza ceasefire on hold. In Israel, they are very clear about that. Hostage families are furious. There are now protests because they know Israel has been killing their own hostages with indiscriminate bombing and total decimation. Have the gates of hell opened? Bomb from the air today the food stocks that have already been brought into Gaza. And this is a spokesperson for the Israeli parliament saying out loud, we just want to destroy everybody here. Pat, I know you're a little bit maybe not feeling great.
I don't know. Something just came over me and I'm got away with some lay down stuff. But.
Yeah, let's and let's just show one little very short clip from the Gaza response to Trump's disgusting commercial, and then we'll come back and then we'll go out. Okay, so this is a moment of niceness.
Gaza is ours, forever strong, a land of hope where we belong. No matter who, no matter how, we stand unshaken here and now. We are here, we will remain. Gaza rises through the pain. With our hearts, with our hands, we will build on our land. The light, a child's laughter, a mother's prayer. Hope is stronger than despair. We will build on our land.
Anything like that just gives hope resistance. People in Gaza are making videos of their breakfasts or lunches in the, the rubble of their former homes, just to show like, we are staying here. This is our land. You will never force us off.
They didn't go through all this to just hand it all over and be in a worse situation than they were 3 years ago.
100%. Okay. And also, it's last night was Eid Mubarak, the breaking of the fast for Ramadan, and in the Gaza Strip, which again, just rubble, there was a long table with everyone coming together to break the fast together. So, the resistance continues, and living life and celebrating the good moments is resistance. Okay, Pat's going to go. You all are awesome. Thank you for not doing any spoilers. Pat, I hope you feel better. Everybody's very concerned about you there. I'm sorry.
I just had a wave of something hit me.
Yeah,
so
no, let's yeah. All right. Cheers to all of you. Thank you for joining us. Protests were out there at the Oscars. We will see you all on Wednesday. Keep punching up. Cheers.
Palestine will be free!